Carlos Alcaraz speaks like never before about Sinner. Is Yannick obsessed with him? The world number one has explained that his great rival has to see and think about what he needs to improve in order to beat the player he hasn't been able to defeat most often. After the Paris Masters 1000, where Carlos Alcaraz suffered a shocking defeat in his debut against Cameron Norrie, the legendary Nicolas Mahut claimed that Yannick Sinner is a little obsessed with the Spaniard. The world number one was asked about this statement from the former tennis player in an interview with Marca, and he showed his most sincere side. "I think both of us are. He has lost 2 or 3 matches in the last 2 years, and the vast majority have been against me," he began. That is why he understands how his rival feels. Yannick has to see and think about what he has to improve in order to beat the player he hasn't been able to beat most often. It's logical and normal. Alcaraz does acknowledge that his case is different since he is less consistent than the Italian, but he also has the rivalry with Sinner in his sights. "I have lost to more players, but my mindset is to try to improve and do things so that the next time we face each other, I'm a much better player," he concluded. Carlos Alcaraz confirms the date when he will have his own Nike brand. Recently, Carlitos spoke with Marca, where he made several other confessions about this magnificent 2025 season in which he has collected so many finals and titles. Carlos Alcaraz opens up about his own Nike brand. In this conversation, he also talked about the personal clothing line that Nike has been preparing for him for some time. But the truth is that there have been doubts surrounding the brand. "We are working on it, we're figuring out how to do it, but I trust that next year we'll have something," Alcaraz explained, setting a date to unveil his new image. There were even rumors that the Triple C, with the motto that comes from his grandfather, head, heart and balls, would be the centerpiece of the logo. But the 6-time Grand Slam champion dismissed the idea. "No, that hasn't been in the plan at any time," he said. Shocking message from Ferrer about Alcaraz's withdrawal. David Ferrer, captain of the Spanish Davis Cup team, acknowledged this Tuesday that the withdrawal of Carlos Alcaraz, world number one, weakens his team, but he insisted that he still has confidence in his players to do something good. "I'm very happy with the work this week. Although obviously we are sad because Carlos Alcaraz will not play. But I trust my team to compete, and we're going to have our chance to have a good week," he said in the official press conference of the Armada in Bologna. The world number one withdrew this Tuesday due to an edema in the hamstring of his right thigh, an injury suffered during his participation in the ATP Finals. After the match with Sinner, I learned about his discomfort. When he arrived in Bologna, they did an MRI. Then I spoke with the doctors and we all decided that it was too risky to play this week, he said. "I didn't have anything prepared in case he withdrew. We trusted that he would be able to be here. When he came yesterday, things looked good. Then things changed. We were 5 and now we are 4, he added. The Spanish captain said that Alcaraz was at great risk. "The medical issue rules. We're weakened, we know that. But if we're in the final 8 it's thanks to them, the rest of the team, and we are going to compete. We accept that we don't have Carlos. But I see the light again. I have faith. I have confidence and I think we can do something good," he stated. Jaume Munar, Pablo Carreño and Pedro Martinez achieved in Marbella the greatest comeback of Spain in the Davis Cup. Marcel Granollers, a doubles specialist and champion of this tournament, just like Carreño, joined the team. "The players did it in Marbella. If we're here it's because of their commitment and their way of competing. Pablo and Marcel have already won the Davis Cup. Pablo has returned from the hell of injury. These experienced players control the matches. Marcel is a different player. This year he has won 2 big ones. He is the leader of the team. I see him differently from last year. We'll leave the tie at 1-1 and let him take care of it," he ended, laughing. Spain, now without Alcaraz, will debut on Thursday against the Czech Republic starting at 10 a.m. Ferrer explained the origin of the Mertens injury. Carlos had an edema, he had been dragging the problem from Turin, and playing the final, well, it got worse, he said. After his arrival at training camp, the medical team acted immediately. They came yesterday and, well, they did an MRI, the captain confirmed. The final decision was made by consensus. According to Ferrer, speaking with both his medical team and our medical team, Ángel Catoro, well, he was at very high risk, right? Given this situation, the priority was the player's health. And in the end, well, in this case, the medical issue rules, Ferrer concluded, making it clear that the decision was unavoidable. The Mertens player announces that he has a hamstring edema and therefore is out of the final 8 of the World Cup. Stay until the end of the video to know all the details. After a frantic Monday of medical tests and analysis, On Tuesday morning the worst possible news was confirmed for the Spanish tennis team. Carlos Alcaraz will not play the final 8 of the Davis Cup this week in Bologna. It was confirmed by the world number 1 himself, who revealed he has an edema in the hamstring of his right leg, caused during last week's ATP Finals, and that it does not allow him to compete at a high level. The Royal Spanish Tennis Federation also announced it in a statement, meaning the team will play the final stage of the Davis Cup, which begins Thursday against the Czech Republic in the quarterfinals, with 4 players, Jaume Munar, Pedro Martinez, Pablo Carreño, and Marcel Granollers. I'm very sorry to announce that I won't be able to play the Davis Cup in Bologna with Spain. I have an edema in the hamstring of my right leg and the medical recommendation is not to compete. I've always said that playing for Spain is the greatest thing there is, and I was really excited to help fight for the trophy. I'm going home hurt, Alcaraz shared on his social media. Carlos Alcaraz will not be able to be part of the Mafre Spanish tennis team that will play the final 8 of the 2025 Davis Cup in the Italian city of Bologna starting next Thursday, due to physical discomfort suffered in the back part of his right thigh during his participation in last week's ATP Finals in Turin, said the RFID. A hamstring edema is an abnormal accumulation of fluid within the hamstring muscle, caused by an injury, overload, or micro tears. It is not a tear itself but is often the step before or a consequence of muscle damage. This is why Alcaraz, who wanted to do everything possible to compete in Bologna and win what would be the first Davis Cup of his career, ultimately decided not to take major risks. The announcement of the world number 1's withdrawal marked the end of 24 hours of intense developments in the northern Italian city, where Alcaraz traveled on Monday by van from Turin. After a 3.5-hour trip, the Mercian arrived in Bologna mid-afternoon to undergo an MRI that would clarify the discomfort he arrived with. Ángel Ruiz Catoro, doctor of the national team, supervised the entire process, and the results were sent to Juanjo Lopez, Alcaraz's personal doctor in Murcia. He analyzed the images from different perspectives, and the information finally began to arrive. Federation sources told media present at the team hotel, including that Alcaraz had an overload but had avoided a tear. The initial plan was that Charlie wouldn't train Tuesday but would try on Wednesday and then decide whether to play. However, that first information changed shortly after. As learned that there was a shift in opinion within the players' camp, as they believed that playing Thursday against the Czech Republic carried a significant risk of a tear. Remember, there are less than 2 months until the Australian Open. El Partidazo de Cope had already reported Monday night that the Spaniard would ultimately not compete in Bologna, and a few hours later it was Alcaraz himself who announced his withdrawal officially. The 6-time Grand Slam champion will leave the Spanish training camp this Tuesday, and he will not attend the afternoon press conference with the rest of his teammates. He left, in his own words, hurt. Alcaraz's withdrawal from the Davis Cup means his 2025 season ends more abruptly than expected. The Spaniard closed what is likely the best year of his professional career with a record of 71 wins and just 9 losses, and above all 8 titles, 2 Grand Slams, Roland Garros and the US Open, 3 Masters 1000, Monte Carlo, Rome and Cincinnati, and 3 ATP 500, Rotterdam, Queens and Tokyo. Now, after returning home this Tuesday, Alcaraz will treat his hamstring issues, an area that also kept him from competing in Madrid earlier in 2025, and begin preparing for next season. On December 7, he is scheduled to play an exhibition match against Francis Tiafoe in New Jersey, and the next day he will face João Fonseca in another exhibition in Miami. Later, on January 10, he will play another exhibition, this time against Jannik Sinner in South Korea, before flying to Australia. There, he will take part in the $1 million one-point slam and finalize his preparation for the first Grand Slam of the year. With Alcaraz out, the landscape for the Spanish team in the final 8 in Bologna changes significantly. Jaume Munar becomes, by ranking, the team's number 1 under David Ferrer, who will choose Pablo Carreño for the other singles match. The doubles, which is only played if necessary, will consist of Marcel Granollers and Pedro Martinez, who have paired together before. The team will face on Thursday the enormous challenge of beating the Czech Republic, now probably the favorites to lift the trophy after the withdrawals, led by Jiří Lehečka, Jakub Mensik, and Thomas Machak. If Spain beats Thomas Berdych team, the semifinals on Saturday would see them face Argentina or Germany, and in Sunday's final they would meet the winner of the draw that begins Tuesday with France-Belgium and continues Wednesday with Italy-Austria.